general.
We get in trouble.
No, you do not.
If we go down there and check with the coaches.
You'll get in trouble?
Yeah, you're supposed to go straight to
Oh, good. He's changed his mind.
It's been
Good.
like that the whole year.
Well, then why am I hearing the opposite from all the students?
Well, because
Yeah,
They're
'cause-
liars.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Scatterplots. A graph that shows a relationship between two sets of data. A relationship between two sets of data is called a correlation. And things can be correlated differently. A line that closely fits the data in a scatter plot, in other words, you have all this data and a line that closely fits in the middle of it all is called a trend line. Okay? These are just two nice little pictures of scatter plots.
Is that
All right.
correction?
What?
Correlation.
Correlation. Okay? All right. These are just two nice little pictures of scatter plots. This one, think about it. When you have a slope that goes up from left to right, what kind of slope is that? Positive or negative?
Positive.
So look at this. Your your data is kind of moving up from left to right, isn't it? So that is called positive correlation. Then you have this one. Does it look like there's any sense to it at all?
No.
That's called no correlation. Isn't that crazy? So let's go look at those. Okay?
What if it's decent?
So here we go. Scatter plots and trend lines. A relationship is considered to be either linear or nonlinear. To determine a correlation, look at the relationship between the sets of data. A relationship has one of three types of correlations. Positive correlation is when the data goes up from left to right. That is called positive correlation. It is also linear, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to call that positive, and we're going to call that linear because it pretty much forms a line. Okay, then you have this correlation, which would be considered what? What kind of slope would that be? Negative. Negative correlation. And is it still linear?
Yes.
Yes, because it pretty much forms a line, doesn't it? All right, so it is linear. Okay. Then you have what is called no correlation. There's no rhyme or reason to how the points come together, so that is called no correlation. And generally, if you have no correlation, you also are non-linear. Okay? All right. If there is a correlation, draw a trend line that is as close to each data point as possible, has about the same number of points on each side of the line, and goes directly through at least 2 points. Now, this is the hardest part for students to get, okay? You're not connecting points, all right? What you kind of want to do is pick a spot that's in the middle of all the data, and then you draw the line, and you want to connect about 2 points, okay? So that is a difficult task, but that is what 8th graders have to do. You don't have to learn to plot the scatter plot, but you do have to know how to draw a trend line because you are going to make predictions, okay? So, for example, this has 10s going up by 10s. This is dates, isn't it? So here it might say something like, as the years go up, the amount of time a person can run goes down. Does that make sense? As I get older, the amount of time I can run probably goes down for most people. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay? I can't run as long as I get older, correct? How many, there are a few exceptions to that rule, but that's something that I could say about this. So let's go over here. Coaching salaries. Okay, for all of you that want to be coaches.
No, thank you.
Okay? Let's look at this data. And let's answer these questions. What kind of correlation do you see in this scatter plot?
No.
Mm.
No, I see a line.
Don't you kind of see how as you go from left to right, it goes what? Up, okay? It's not as dramatic, but it goes up. So we call that positive. And how we know that? As the years of experience increase, salary increases. And doesn't that make sense? The longer you've done something, the more experience you have, the more money you should make, right? So here you've got salary, and if you notice, your salary is going up on this side. And over here you've got years of experience. Well, doesn't it make sense that the more experience you have, the bigger your salary should be, correct? Okay?
Oh, wait a minute.
All right.
It's over here and it's lower.
It's over where and it's lower.
It's at the 16.
Okay, overall, okay, what you see over here is called an outlier, okay? It's something in data that is not necessarily with most of the data. It's kind of like a outsider. Like, let's say the guy with 12 years experience here, who's a coach, has had a losing season over and over and over. Is he going to get as much salary as the guy with 9 years with all winning seasons? No. But for the most part, you notice down here, these people, they started here, and the most of them are going up. Do you see that? Okay. So it says use the trend line to determine how much an income coach with 10 years of coaching experience should make. So if I take my ruler, and I am going to go about in the middle of the data, making sure that I connect at least a couple of the points. And I am going to draw a line. And when you answer these questions, most of the time they will be multiple choice, so they will be easier for you to answer. All right? Although sometimes they're close. All right? And it says for 10 years of experience. So I would go to where 10 is. About where is this hitting the line? What about how much money? 2,000. So they should make, and you notice I'm using the word about $2,000. Okay? All right? I'm saying about because this is an approximate. This is a prediction. Is that the case for every single one? No.
Man, what would this be?
What?
Like, would this be like $2,000 a week?
Well, look at it. Says salary. It doesn't specify it. It's probably $2,000 a month. These are old. You got to remember, okay? It's about. Hey, that's more than that's It's about a beginning teacher's salary right there.
No, I ain't being
Mm-hmm. All right. Use the trend line to determine how much a coach should make when he's accumulated 20 years of coaching experience. So I would look at 20 and I would say, okay, where is this hitting at 20? And he would be making what? About $3,000. So he's only gained 1,000 after 20 years. Woo! No, I'm sorry. He went from 10 to 20 in 10 years. He's gained $1,000. Okay? And like I said, these are, drawing the trend lines are the hardest part. So let's look at this one. Isles Royale population. We've got how many mooses are there, all right? And how many wolves are there? And if you notice, the more wolves, the less what?
Moose.
That's correct, because what happens?
They eat the moose.
The wolves are eating the moose. How do you say that? Mooses. All right? So, it says, what kind of correlation do you see in this pattern? Negative. Okay? And what it is as mooses as, let's do it this way. As wolves increase, mooses, I don't know how you would do that, decrease. Obviously, I'm not an English teacher, otherwise I would know how to write that. Mooses, okay? So as one value is increasing, your x values are increasing, aren't they?
No, it's not mooses, it's a bunch of moose.
Okay. Well,
That's what it's called.
your y value is decreasing, and that's what causes a negative slope. Well, this is a negative trend. All right, so now it says we are going to draw this, and I'm going to connect kind of the middle, and I got to get something kind of slided over to here, and somehow kind of get in the middle of the data, connecting at least 2 points, and here we go, and there's my trend line. Now yours may be a little bit different, but they should be fairly close, okay? So I have some on this side and some I'm about in the middle. I probably could have drawn it just a little bit more like this, and that would have been okay. I'm a little bit better in the middle, okay? So it says, using the trend line to determine how many moose would remain if there were only 4 wolves. Well, I would go to 4 wolves. How many moose do you think would be there?
About 500.
Okay, so let's say about 500, 550, somewhere in there.
Mine is different.
Okay? All right?
Mine would be about 650.
She said that they were going to be different.
They're going to be a little different. Hopefully you're close enough, all right?
I got 550.
And you're going to get better at this with a little bit of practice. Use the trend line to determine how many wolves would essentially wipe out the moose population. So how many wolves would you need to make the moose population wiped out?
30.
About 30, 29, somewhere right over in here, right? Okay, so about, how many of you have 29 to 30?
Oh, me?
Okay, so by the time you got to where my moose were 0, okay, it's going to be in here somewhere, okay? All right.
28 to 30.
All right. Okay. I'm going to hand out your packets, and we're going to do a couple on there. Okay?
I ran into a pole and run into the gym.
I'm giving one for Zach, and one for Chris, and one for Kaylee. Okay? No, no, no. I'm not talking about that.
Oh yeah, I can take him as work. He's still down there.
All right. So, let's look on here. Let's open this up. Says, you guys have enough down there for everybody?
I don't have one.
See?
You can't expect.
Who needs one?
Who else needs one?
Go get one of those.
Yours isn't coming from over here? She's just, no, this way. This
Oh
way.
my
This
God.
way. Now do you have one? All right. So it says here, if Lisa spends 50 minutes studying for her math test, about what can she expect for a grade on her test?
I don't know.
85.
What do you think it is?
About an 85.
Okay, so what's the closest to 85?
87.
I would choose B also. Okay, because there is no choice of 90. All right?
But there is a choice of 9 and 30.
But that would be up above here, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay? See how that would be way up here, and you don't want to do way up here.
Yeah.
So the scatter plot shows the relationship between the amount of time spent reading and the number of pages read. After reading 40 minutes, how many pages might someone be expected to have read?
30 pages.
40 minutes would get you what?
30 by about 30.
I think 30 is a little high. Because look at, in 40 minutes of reading, oh, well, let's see. Here, that would be 30 right here. What's the trend line giving you?
35.
About more closer to 35, okay? That would be your closest bet, would be 35. Because if you go over here, it's 35 pages for 40 minutes. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Let's see if there's one we have to draw a trend line. All right. A local pond is having trouble with pollution. The number of fish living in the pond has been tracked from year to year. About how many fish will be left in the pond in the year 2006? Ooh. Well, what I would do is do this. I would take a ruler and kind of go, okay, let's see here. I've got it, I don't even need to use a ruler, really. I've got about this far, my finger's width. So here's 2000, here's 2002. My finger's width would be about here, is 2004. My finger's width would about. So here's 2004, here's 2006. Do you see how I figured that out?
It'd be 0.
Cullen grammar. This is not time to play with the rulers. Put it down if you're not going to use it. So, now I need to draw a trend line. And I need to kind of be in the middle of the data. I don't like any of that. So what would you choose if you had drawn a trend line like I did, but you knew one of those answers had to be the answer? What would you choose? I would choose A also. Okay? Okay? So, you may turn your desk and work with one friend.
Logan.
No. No.
You're going to put your desk back when you're done. I wouldn't take long because you've only got 15